one of my little taglines that I share with folks that ought to be my clients. So if they'll say, why should I do this with you? You know, I'm like, well, epiphanies are costly. And the right client will be like, wait a second. What do you mean by that? And you'll see them start thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of testing them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to work with folks that are going to try to figure out what's wrong and do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And otherwise, I can't help them.
Right.
Anyway, it doesn't matter what I tell them. So I'll say epiphanies are costly. And I'll watch to see if the wheels are turning or if they have some reaction. And they'll like, yeah, oh, yeah, that's right. Or what do you mean? Or something. And it generally, it's like, well, when were those times in your life that you were like, oh my gosh. Like, what do you mean? Well, like and I'll use some really bombastic example. Like you say to yourself, I married the wrong person, or I should have quit smoking 10 years ago.
I should have kept putting that money into my retirement account.
Yeah. This retirement thing is great, but I should have started at 30.
That was a real example.
Right. Yeah. So I use this. Well, so let me finish the statement. So epiphanies are costly, but the wise find them at half price. The smarter you are, the cheaper you find them. And basically you're like, look at that guy. I'm not going to make that mistake. Okay, that's a cheap epiphany, right? You learned at his expense. Hey, I'm learning from my mistakes. Great. Well, let's learn from somebody else's.
You can't learn from someone else's mistakes if you're not looking or reading.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, that's right. And that's what reading is. It's like, hey, guys going, I screwed this up a bunch. I'm going to write it down. Like, oh, cool. So I could take 10 years to learn it badly. Or this guy learned it and wrote it down really well.
And I could spend 6 hours.
6 hours, whatever. Okay,
whatever
great.
it takes to read it.
Brilliant. Like, that's a cheap epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
Very cheap.
$15, $20 for the book.
That's right.
I mean,
and a couple hours or so on and so forth. So, so this kind of deal creates some cheap epiphanies where you're like, oh, and that's what we're after. Understanding, clarity, light bulb, right?
Right.
I love that. That's from Despicable Me.
That's awesome.
Gru,
which I finally watched.
Yeah. Gru's like, light bulb. I just love that. So that's the whole point, is to get the lights to come on and get folks to go, oh, I should do this differently. Yeah, go do it differently. Come back and let me know how that goes, right?
Right.
So what were you going to say?